Elsewhere, zombies are busy fighting plants. Here on my farm, they're just farming and feeding the pigs. Passing survivors are absolutely stunned by the sight. That's because every single one of these worker zombies is an S-class mutant. And me, the farm owner? I'm just an ordinary human. See, I transmigrated into a post-apocalyptic world where everyone awakened superpowers. But since I didn't awaken any, my family kicked me out of the shelter and threw me into the wilderness to fend for myself. What they didn't know was that I had awakened the zombie domination system. While others were fighting tooth and nail over a moldy piece of bread, I was already feasting on fresh veggies grown by S-class zombies. Farming and building in the wilderness, I constructed my very own apocalypse farm. One day, 3 scavengers trying to escape some zombies stumbled into my farm by accident. The scene before them left them utterly speechless. A greenhouse up ahead, filled with fresh cucumbers. This was a delicacy that even the rich could only dream of during New Year's. They had never even seen most of the other fresh vegetables here. All 3 wondered if they were hallucinating. But then their smart wristbands started blaring an alarm. S-class zombie detected nearby. Snapping back to reality, the 3 immediately prepared to attack. However, not only did the S-class zombie have incredible defense, it also possessed an ultra-rare spatial ability. With a single move, it defeated the trio, just as it was about to deliver the final blow. Aku. How many times have I told you? No fighting in the vegetable patch. What if you scare the customers? For this month's KPI review, I'm deducting 10 crystals from your bonus. The 3 couldn't believe their eyes. I actually made an S-class zombie bow and apologize. Even more unbelievable, every zombie working in the fields was S-class. A single B-class zombie usually took a 3-person team to handle. An S-class required an entire military unit to suppress. The girl even wondered if I was actually a zombie king in disguise. Hearing this, I just scratched my head sheepishly. I told her I'm just a regular guy. I have an employment agreement with these zombies. They just work for me. My simple explanation left her questioning her entire existence. Seeing her disbelief, I picked a tomato from a nearby vine and offered it to her. Here, try one. It's the farm's specialty. Guaranteed all natural, no contamination. Every single one was grown by these zombies, one shovel at a time. Staring at the tomato, all 3 were frozen in shock. After the apocalypse, all plant life was destroyed. They'd only ever read about this kind of vegetable in pre-war history books. And he's just giving away such precious food for free? The girl couldn't help but suspect this was some kind of trap I'd set. But after her wristband scanned it, it confirmed the tomato had no viral residue and matched the description in the database perfectly. Seeing them hesitate, I thought maybe they just didn't like tomatoes. Man, these guys are picky eaters. Oh well, I'll just give them to Apeng. Told him to use these tomatoes for pig feed. Looking at the mountain of tomatoes in the pig pen, the trio felt like they'd been struck by lightning. Tomatoes? So many tomatoes. He's feeding all these tomatoes to his pigs? Such a waste. At that moment, the girl couldn't hold back any longer. She rushed over, grabbed the tomato and took a big bite. The sweet, tangy, juicy flavor instantly sent her soul straight to paradise. Coming back to her senses, tears were streaming down her face. It's exactly like the books described. Seeing their leader enjoying it so much, the other 2 team members also lunged for the tomato basket, watching the pure bliss on their faces as they devoured the tomatoes. I was completely blown away. It's just a tomato. Why are they so excited? Turns out, after the apocalypse, humanity's main food source was protein bars made from compressed mutant cockroaches. Getting to taste a real tomato was beyond their wildest dreams. After witnessing what I could do, the girl timidly asked if they could buy some of my useless tomatoes. Now that got my attention. But what should the price be? After all, every crystal core is something scavengers risk their lives for. 10 ordinary cores could feed a person for a whole month. If I set the price too high, I might scare her off. But if it's too low, I'd look like a total pushover. Thinking it over, I held up 5 fingers and made my decision. 1 gin of tomatoes, 5 crystal cores. Just 500? 1,000? Oh my god, that's so cheap. Afraid I might change my mind, the girl grabbed my hand and practically shoved her bag of cores into it. 50,000 cores for 100 gin of tomatoes. The feeling of sudden wealth was a bit overwhelming. Thanks to these 3 generous souls, my system finally had enough resources to upgrade, but I had to play it cool on the surface. I invited them to follow me to the storage shed to pick up their order, but when I lifted the tarp covering the goods, all 3 of them covered their mouths again. Squealing like pigs, bottled water and canned beef, and fresh vegetables. The girl started crying on the spot. With this much supplies, our entire shelter could survive for a month. The starving residents finally have a chance. But how were they going to get it all back? I told her not to worry. My farm also offers a delivery service. For just $5.99, we can bring it right to your door. Safe, fast, and reliable. The girl's eyes lit up. She said they'd definitely take the delivery option, and that she'd introduce me to even more customers. Hearing that, I was relieved. I immediately called over Akong. With a gesture of his hands, his body transformed into a dark void and swallowed up all the supplies. The terrifying spatial ability sent chills down the spines of the 3 onlookers. They never imagined that such a top-tier apocalyptic power was being used for food delivery. At that moment, the girl's admiration for me hit an all-time high. She promised to arrange a meeting with a major client as soon as she got back. After they left, I started thinking about future plans. These supplies would inevitably attract unwanted attention. So the first priority was to contract more zombies, to ensure my own safety. Back at the shelter, when the trio arrived with an S-class zombie in tow, the entire base went on high alert, activating maximum defenses, preparing for a last stand. Seeing the commotion she'd caused, the girl quickly shouted to the commander, "It's all a misunderstanding." Akong, remembering my strict orders not to cause trouble, used his ability to airdrop the supplies right at the shelter's main gate. The commander was completely dumbfounded. An S-class spatial zombie is delivering supplies to us? What is going on here? Time to settle the final payment. Otherwise, the boss will deduct it from my bonus. The commander immediately gave the order. Every team member dug out their emergency stash of crystal cores. After giving a polite bow, Akong took the cores and sped away into the distance. Finally, the commander could breathe a sigh of relief. He immediately directed his soldiers to start moving the supplies. The food crisis that had been plaguing them was finally solved. Furthermore, their investigation revealed that I used to be a resident of this very shelter, the 7th base. 3 months ago, I was bullied and kicked out by my older half-brother. Hearing my story, The general was trembling with rage. In just 3 short months, this brilliant individual had built a farm from scratch, and could even control S-class zombies. And this is how we treated him? And he sells these precious vegetables for next to nothing? The general felt a pang of guilt. He immediately decided to multiply the original payment tenfold, settling at 51,000 cores, and to express their gratitude with the highest honors. Meanwhile, back at my farm, I was at home studying my newly contracted zombie. The figure, the face, that cost me 1,000 cores. But as a boss, you can't be without a secretary. Executive employee number 1 successfully bonded. Congratulations, host, on acquiring your first elite employee. Looking at the 99% compatibility rating, I was so excited I could barely contain myself, because the higher the compatibility, the greater the zombie's potential. With this one, I could definitely nurture a top-tier SSS-level executive assistant. Just as I was giving my new secretary her first assignment, the farm's main gate suddenly exploded inward, and my brand new secretary was shattered into pieces right before my eyes. Receiving the system notification, my heart ached. The 1,000 cores I just spent money down the drain. I looked up. Standing there, having broken into my farm, was my older half-brother. Seeing that I was not only alive, but also apparently working with zombies, his foul mouth wouldn't stop running. One of his lackeys was even leering at where my secretary had been. Watching their blatant disrespect, my anger meter shot through the roof. Unless you have a damn good explanation, none of you are leaving here today? My brother just scoffed disdainfully. He could trample me back then, and he could do it again today. Just then, one of his cronies noticed the vegetables in the field. Realizing their value, he immediately decided to silence me and loot the farm clean. What he didn't realize was that I wasn't the same person they'd kicked out. All I wanted was to live quietly, and maybe do some employee development on the side. Why do idiots always have to come looking for trouble? Alright, work's over, everyone. Come on out, ha 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 ha. What do you mean, come out? Don't tell me you're gonna call some zombies to come bite us? Congratulations, you guessed right. S-class zombies! Boss, what are your orders?